McGeehan versus DeMoss. Prize has been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
You were driving, Michael, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And who are you?
I'm Teddy, I'm his wife. I was the passenger.
According to your complaint, Mr. Navarro, you were driving in a residential area near a park. This is in an area where you live.
Yes, I live.
You are very familiar with this park area.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Park area where there were a lot of kids.
Yes.
And you were driving there on a Saturday
Yes.
afternoon
I was.
when there was no school, so there were a lot of kids out, correct?
Yes.
And the defendant's little boy came on his bicycle, darting out of the park, causing you to have an accident.
Yes, correct.
The accident was that you hit his bicycle, he went flying up on the roof of your car, bounced off, landed on the ground, correct?
Correct.
You are suing his parents for the damage to your car.
Correct.
They are now counterclaiming for unreimbursed medical bills for their son. Is that right?
Right. Your Honor, though, I brought proof, I brought the police report.
Just a second, I'm not finished.
Okay.
I conduct the trial, all right? Do you have children of your own?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
3 boys.
How old are they?
9, 4 years old, and 6 months old.
So the 9-year-old is the only one who rides a bike.
Yes, ma'am.
Does he ride in that park?
Yes, he does.
Is it a windy road around that park?
No, ma'am.
Straight road.
Straight road.
Are there a lot of trees in the area?
Yes, there is.
Are they tall trees?
Yes, they are.
And what is the speed limit in that area?
25 miles an hour.
And how fast was your car going at the time that you hit the defendant's son?
On the police report, it says 25 miles an hour.
Well, the police weren't present. You told the police how fast you were going.
Yes, but they also took an investigation, and they have some mechanism that determines how fast you were going and
So they determined that you were going 25 miles per hour.
within the
I
legal
disagree
limit.
with that.
Now, you know what it means, posted speed limit?
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean?
Means you must be going within that speed
Limit,
limit.
or you are breaking the law.
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't say you must go 25 miles an hour, right?
Right.
That means that the most you can go is 25 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell me the sequence of events up to the point where you hit this young man?
Alrighty, it was a Saturday. Baseball season was in effect. Picked up me and my wife, my boy after his game, went to go have some lunch. We're driving down the street. I especially pay attention to the part where the sidewalk comes to effect because I have my 9-year-old and I do live like 10 houses from where this did happen at. And so I'm driving down the street, you know, telling my boys, yeah, we're gonna get something to eat. Next thing I know, I seen this little boy just right in front of my car. So I slammed on my brakes, try to move left to avoid hitting the little boy. I catch him with the right-hand side of my van. He rolls up onto the van, looks at me, falls down. I immediately throw it in park.
You went onto the hood.
Yes, ma'am. I immediately threw it in the park. Me and my wife both ran out. She grabbed the sheet from the back seat, put it underneath his head, and we tried to take care of him and call 911.
But during the time of that whole incident, when the parents showed up, we explained to the parents, we were sorry that we hit the little boy, but he came out of nowhere. We also told him if we were at fault, we'd be more than welcome to pay for everything if we were responsible. When we see that police report, and if we weren't at fault, we would like to work something out with them. So we waited till the police report came.
Let me see the police report. What kind of car were you driving?
2000 Nissan Quest.
You have insurance?
Yes, we
Yes.
did. We just barely drove it off the lot a week before that.
Good. What was your deductible?
500.
So why are you suing them for $2,500?
Because that's how much the damages were. When we found the police report,
Just a second. That may be how much the damages were, but your out-of-pocket expenses are only $500.
but see what was going to happen if we contacted our insurance. If we were to pay the $500 deductible, our insurance would have gone up. Why should we have to pay for our insurance to go up if their son was at fault? So we both agreed that we were going to wait for the police report to come out. He also said on the telephone, Mr. DeMoss, that if the police report showed that his son was at fault, he would take full responsibility as being the father to that little boy, and him being out in the street and hitting coming out in front of our car and we hitting him, that he was going to pay for it. So I waited. I waited till the police report came out. I contacted him. He says, I'm going to call my lawyer. So I waited another month. He says, I'm going to talk to my lawyer again. So finally, after 4 months went by, I said, you know what, I can't do this. My paint's starting to chip more. It's getting rust marks. It's a 2000 car. It's not fair that I have to get stuck driving a beat-up vehicle now. So that's when I took him to court.
If I was at fault, I wouldn't even have to be coming to court. I would just, any way I could help, because I mean, I felt bad. I hit a little boy. My son's the same age. But I mean, like I said, I was with my family. I was just driving down the street. I didn't know what to do after the accident happened, so I called the police. The police came, and I just go by what they said because, you know, they have all the special equipment supposedly to tell me who was going fast and if it would have been my fault and this and that. So I went by what the police report said.
There was also 2 other witnesses. The little boy and the little girl said that he did not look both
Don't tell me
ways.
what any witnesses that aren't here said.
Okay.
What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a pipe fitter, fire
Pipe,
sprinklers.
pipe fitter? And what kind of work do you do?
Cashier.
Now, Mr. Navarro, according to this police report, there were 39 feet of skid marks, locked wheel skid marks, before colliding with this little boy. That's quite a distance. So you weren't right on top of him when you saw him.
Yes, I was. When he popped out in front of me, I was from more than from your bench to right here. And
But
I
there were
slammed on the
skid
brakes.
marks already
My
on the
front,
floor.
my back brakes locked. As soon as they did, and it drug out from. Somehow, I asked them how they were going to do that, and so they were going to take away the distance from the van, from the front to the back tires, to determine how fast I was going. Because when I got there, I mean, when I got to the car and I looked at the skid marks, they looked long, and I was like, well, you know,
They
why
are
so-
long.
Yeah, they
39, that's the only figure that they have here. It doesn't
Yeah.
say how many feet the skid marks were prior to the collision.
Are. No, those were them. The only skid marks that were there is what the police went by. So
39 feet of
Yeah.
locked wheel skid marks.
And my
But was
van-
unable to stop prior to colliding with vehicle 2. That's he's vehicle 2. That's a lot of skid marks.
Yes, it is.
What I'm suggesting to you is, when I asked you earlier on, 25-mile speed limit is the limit which the law permits you to go in a certain area. But if you are familiar with an area, as you are, and are familiar with the fact that there are lots of children on their bikes riding around, children that don't always act responsibly, and you know that it's a Saturday afternoon in baseball season, so everybody's out, instead of going 25 miles an hour, you go 10 miles an hour. You go 5 miles an hour around the park, because you know where the kids exit from the park, right? There's a ramp, right?
Yes.
Most people think that the pedestrians are usually right. Well, in this case, this young man who's now going to stand next to his parents, stand up here, he was wrong. How old are you?
11.
You know you were wrong for not stopping and looking both ways before you came out of the park and down that ramp into the street, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
It was a very foolish thing to do. You could have gotten yourself killed. He was wrong. He's 11.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
First thing I saw was that little boy on my hood. And I saw the helmet fly off. I saw the shoes fly off.
You are going too fast.
And later today,
She told me I shouldn't have paid my ticket. Her phone bill is more important than my ticket. And we started fighting.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Guillen and his wife Debbie Navarro say 11-year-old Ryan DeMoss was at fault in an accident while riding his bike. They are suing for damage to their car.
He's the same age practically as your son. If somebody hit your son while he was riding on his bicycle, who was going the speed limit in that neighborhood? And your son wound up with injuries. I mean, he fortunately wasn't seriously injured, but he was injured. How would you feel if the people who hit him said he should have been looking both ways?
I would have, if it happened to me, that's what you're asking me, I wouldn't even have to take it this far. I would have said, you know what, thank you for not killing my son. I'm sorry, it was his fault. You know, I just want you to know that whatever I can do, I'll do. You know,
Why should they do anything?
well, if somebody hit my son and my son was at fault, I would at least offer to pay for what they did to the car. 'cause
You
he was
don't
my
think that you have any
responsibility.
responsibility, Mr. Navarro?
Yeah. I
What's
do.
your responsibility?
Being on that road, I would imagine, because there's nothing else I could have done. I mean, I could have
Sure,
went into
no,
the
yes,
store,
you
yeah.
could have. Well, that's your problem. You say there's nothing else you could have done. Look, I remember living in one of my lives in a cul-de-sac. You know what a cul-de-sac is?
Yes.
It's a dead-end street. And the posted speed limit in this little town where I lived was 25 miles an hour. Anybody driving around that cul-de-sac with their kids riding on their bikes at 25 miles an hour, I would consider driving like a lethal weapon. Because there are kids darting all over the place, and you say, well, I can drive 25 miles an hour here because that's the speed limit, right?
Yes.
It would have been like having a dangerous weapon. You think that that's right?
Well, it depends on the circumstances, I would imagine. Nobody, I mean, and this cul-de-sac is different from our street. I go by the limit. You know, I go where I can control my vehicle. Usually,
You didn't control your vehicle. According to this, it was 39 feet,
Well, yeah.
twice the distance of this courtroom
Well, usually-
where they saw skid marks.
well, usually somebody would at least try to look. I mean, why would you just go into the street? I mean,
I'm telling
even
you
if I
that
was
he
going
was
15
wrong.
miles an hour.
I'm telling you that he was wrong.
So, I mean, what do you want me to say? I feel like they deserve, that I deserve for them to at least try to fix the vehicle. It was their son who was wrong. You know?
And Your Honor, I mean,
if it was my son, I would have offered to do the same thing. I don't know why everybody just...
As to their son's damages, I mean, right when I saw him, first thing I saw was that little boy on my hood. And I saw the helmet fly off. I saw the shoes fly off. The little boy had no shoelaces on his shoes, had no socks on his feet, had his helmet unbuckled. He had no elbow pads, no knee pads. He had no socks on, and his helmet not clipped. If he would have had at least some more safety, then he would not have gotten as hurt probably as he did.
If you're going at an appropriate rate of speed, consistent with what the circumstances of that neighborhood are, and it takes you 39 feet to stop your car, and even after you stop your car, there is such an impact from your car as to propel him to the hood of your car, knocking off his shoes and knocking his helmet off, you are going too fast. 25 miles an hour is the speed limit, the maximum. That doesn't mean you have the right to go 25 miles an hour and say, whatever happens when I'm going 25 miles an hour, it's not my fault. He didn't act responsibly. That doesn't mean his parents are responsible. You're partially responsible, and your partial responsibility will cost you your $500 deductible. Now, if your insurance goes up, I guarantee you, Mr. Navarro, you will drive slower in that area on a Saturday afternoon from now on, right?
Yes.
Right. Now, as for your counterclaim, he was wrong.
Right, we agree.
He was wrong. And you have medical bills in the amount of $676.
Well, that haven't been paid.
By our insurance.
Right, insurance already paid over $1,300.
Okay. And he was injured besides.
Right, I have pictures if you'd like to see.
Sure.
We initially figured that since Ryan was partially wrong and we felt they were partially wrong, that we would pay for Ryan's medical bills and not try
And Your
to...
Honor, I'd also like to point out that this area, when he came out of the park onto the street, is a posted bicycle crossing.
I assume you've seen these photographs of his injuries.
I seen that day, and I will never forget. So I don't need
You don't have
pictures
to
of
see
mine.
it again.
No, I don't.
You used up one of your lives. Do you understand that? If you were a cat, you'd only have 8 left.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you wear your helmet, and don't be a wise guy, and you put your helmet on. And I don't care what the style is. If you're riding a bicycle, you tie your shoes. Fortunately, scrapes and bruises, they healed. I assume it was a good lesson for you.
We told him he's the safest bike rider in Camarillo now.
Now,
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
bicycle crossing, lots of kids in the street, Saturday afternoon, you go 10 miles an hour till you get past the park.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Guillen and his wife Debbie Navarro say 11-year-old Ryan DeMoss was at fault in an accident while riding his bike. They are suing for damage to their car.
It's just like if you're driving on a parkway and the parkway says speed limit 65 miles an hour and it starts to pour, and if you get into a terrible accident and your defense is, I wasn't speeding, I was going the speed limit, I would say, jerk! Because when it starts to rain, it starts to get bad. Your visibility gets bad. Instead of going 65 miles an hour, you go 40 miles an hour. Nobody has to tell you that. You just use your common sense and do it. So the same way, you use your common sense. Bicycle crossing, lots of kids in the street, Saturday afternoon, you go 10 miles an hour till you get past the park. That's all.
How is our excuse? You may step out.
I think it went just the way it should have. We were both at fault and we all agreed to it.
I think it was a fair decision by the judge, and they had concern when they hit me.
I was scared because I could picture my kid doing the same thing. And if that was to happen to my boy, I could imagine what those people would go through.
We're neighbors.
We're neighbors.
Sorry about all that.
I'm sorry.
And now the next case.
All parties on Trotter versus Ward. Step forward.
30-year-old nursing student Cherie Trotter is suing former friend, 24-year-old homemaker Felicia Ward, for an unpaid telephone bill.
Miss Trotter,
Yes.
you and the defendant live in the same. Uncross your arms. You and the defendant live in the same apartment complex. According to you, the defendant had asked if she could use your phone periodically because I assume your phone service was cut off. Is that right?
Correct.
And she said that you could use her phone as long as you paid the bill.
Yes.
And you got your bills.
Yes.
I assume that you have marked her long-distance calls.
Yes.
What was the total amount of her long-distance calls?
There were actually two bills. The first bill totaled to $238.20, and then she wasn't aware of the second bill because we had stopped speaking at that time. And by the time the second bill came out, it's $95.71.
And those are all long-distance calls?
Those are all collect calls from a correctional facility.
Okay. Who's in the correctional facility?
It was my fiance.
Okay. Can I take a look at the bill, please? Okay. Show her the first bill, please. And show her the second bill, please. Those are all calls, collect calls. Those collect calls are all from your fiancé?
Yes. Him and a few other people that was incarcerated, that's from the apartments. But we agreed to pay the bill and everything. When the bill came out, she showed me the bill.
Just a second. I'll get to that in a second. So these are all your calls?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you make any payments on those bills?
No.
Why not?
Because when she showed me the first bill, we came to agreement, okay, I'll pay the bill. When I was ready to pay the bill, she wasn't ready. So I went to go pay a ticket that I had. She told me, when she come, like, days after, she come ask me, she come outside, she approached me, she say, well, what's up? Is you ready to go pay the bill? I'm like, no, I ain't ready yet. I went to go pay my ticket. She told me I shouldn't have paid my ticket. Her phone bill is more important than my ticket. I should have paid her bill. I said, no, I'm paying my ticket. Then like a week later, I had just got home from court, came in the house, was in my room, and my daughter came in the house and told me that, she said, came running in the house and said, Mama Cherie said she about to bust your windows.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your daughter came in the house and said, run that by me again.
That Cherie is about to bust my windows. And I came outside, I said, what you about to do? And she like, whatever your baby told you, that's what I'm about to do. So I went back in my house and I came back outside and we started fighting. And then after the fight was over, I told her I didn't want to fight her no more. So then she went in her house, she got a glass, she put a knife in her pocket, she came back outside. She was like, what's up now? Come back downstairs and all this. I'm like, no, I don't want to come back down. Everybody telling me that she got a knife in her pocket and everything. Then she threw a glass at my screen door. My 3-year-old son standing behind the door. She didn't care nothing about that. And she threw the little glass popped up through my door all on my baby and everything. And I'm like, you paid in full. She paid in full when she threw the glass.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $331.91.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge
Stover
Judy will...
versus Morton Shibley. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
You're Mr. Stover.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's April?
My cousin right there.
Could you step up, April, because you're very much involved with this sad tale that I really tried very hard to organize with limited success. But from what I gather, you and your cousin were out for an evening.
Me, my cousin, and my friend Tammy there.
And you were at some sort of a club?
Yes, ma'am.
And these two ladies were also trying to get into the club?
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, something happened between April and these two young ladies. They thought she said something untoward to them, or that she smiled and said they couldn't get in and we did. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So after the club was over, you went back to April's house?
Yes.
And when you got to April's house, you found these two ladies there, waiting for her.
Yes, ma'am. I got there first, and they were setting up the street waiting.
Did you have a conversation with them?
When I pulled in the driveway, they pulled down, and yes, I had a conversation with them.
What did you say to them, and what did they say to you?
It was just a casual conversation. They asked me where April was and when she'd be home, and told them that she was on her way. She'd went to go get pizza.
And after April came home, that's when all this fracas started. And your lawsuit, Mr. Stover, says that A, one of these two young ladies, that's Angela. Which one is Angela?
I am.
That Angela broke the window on your car with her shoe.
Yes.
She acknowledges that she did that. She says she was defending herself, she was aiming for you, and you ducked. That's your defense.
Well, yes.
That's what I read here. You also claim that Jessica, that's you,
Yes, ma'am.
had you arrested for assault, as a result of which you had lost earnings, you drive a cab, couldn't drive for 4 months,
Yes, ma'am. It was malicious wounding, which was a felony. You know.
and those charges were ultimately dismissed.
The first charges were, then they appealed it to a higher charge, aggravated malicious wounding, which it was a worse 20 years to life.
And was that also dismissed?
Yes, ma'am.
After a trial?
Yes, ma'am.
So there was a full trial?
There was a full trial.
Where you testified and she testified?
Yes.
So you are suing Jessica for having you falsely arrested and loss of income. She is counterclaiming because she says that you assaulted her with some sort of a machine that takes credit cards, imprints.
Yes, ma'am. I have that with me.
You acknowledge that you did, in fact, hit her with that.
Yes, ma'am. It's self-defense.
Okay, so that's what the case is about. So let's get back to the girls are there waiting for April. April has her pizza and comes back to the house. Okay? What is the very next thing that happened? You want to tell me, April?
Jessica called me over to her car. So I walked over to her car. And
You had known her from before that evening.
Yeah, as far as I knew, we were friends. We had talked every time we'd seen each other out. We had talked to each other.
Okay, so she called you over to her car.
Yes, I walked over to her car, asked her what was going on. As soon as I did that, she reached out, grabbed me by the back of my hair, twisted me, and had me upside down in her car. The top of my head was in her lap.
Okay, then what happened?
I asked her what was going on. She said I was talking or dancing with her boyfriend, which was not true. We were there maybe 10 minutes at that club.
She still got you in the car?
She has me in this underneath with my head.
So you're talking?
Yeah, I was trying to talk nice and calm to her, and I thought we were friends at that time,
Okay, well, clearly at that time she didn't want to be your friend.
Evidently not.
So what happened?
I just kept asking her why she was doing it, and I yelled for Steve. I was like, Steve, come over here and tell her what we did. So Steve eventually comes over.
And what happened, Steve, when you walked over?
Well, when she first hollered for me, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't realize the seriousness of it. And then I eventually went over there and seen what was going on. And we both were trying to reason with Jessica. We told her whatever we did, we laughed at you, we were sorry. And that's when Angie got out of the other side.
Who was driving?
Angie.
Go ahead.
And she got out, and when she come out, she had a lock blade knife, and she brandished it to Brad and myself. And it pretty much scared us right bad. Then she got back in the driver's side, and as far as I could see, she folded the knife up and put it in the middle console. So that's when I was worried for her, because the way her head was in the car, you know, I was...
Her head was still in the car?
Yes, her head was still in... I was thinking the worst, you know, she could have got cut or anything. So I did what I had to do. I beat down on Jessica's arms and got April's hair loose. And she fell back onto the ground. Then they got mad because I'd got her loose. They chased me to my truck. Jessica was first chasing me, and I was running to my truck trying to get to the phone so I could call the police. And I didn't know who had the knife at the time. So I used to work for a frozen food company selling frozen food, so I had a credit card machine. And I grabbed the first thing I could out of my truck, and I've got the credit card machine here if you'd like to see it.
I would.
Okay. This is the credit.
Gotcha.
That's the credit card machine. I grabbed it out of the truck. I swung it around just wildly, not knowing, just trying to protect myself because I thought she had the knife with her. I didn't know who had the knife. That's when she got flattened on the ground, and then
Who got flattened?
Jessica knocked her down.
Got flattened.
I got into the truck. And Angie was still on her way to the truck. I locked the door. I was on the phone with the state police, and that's when she took this shoe and smashed the side window out of my truck. It shattered it. And it's like they ran off. They said they were going to get reinforcements. I was on the phone with the state police. They were connecting me with the Roanoke City police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I got hit as soon as I stepped in the grass.
Why did you step in the grass for? Why didn't you stay in the car?
I got out to check on her. That my fault.
Crossed your broken face. That sometimes happens to bullies. Bullies sometimes get the short end of the stick.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Stover says he was acting in self-defense when he hit Jessica Shibley in the face with a credit card machine. He claims that Jessica had him falsely prosecuted. Jessica is countersuing for her injuries.
Now, as a result of this, Jessica, you suffered some very serious injury.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you suffered this serious injury, you were right near his truck.
Actually, I just stepped out of the car.
You were right near his truck.
Well, about a car length away, yes, ma'am.
Well, let's go back a little bit. What were you two ladies doing going to her house?
We did go to her house.
For what?
To question her about what had happened at the bar. We were not even in the bar.
What do you mean question her?
Well,
what does that mean, question her?
They had made some comments that upset me, so I went to ask
What kind
them
of
about
comments?
it. Something about us not being able to get in. They thought that was really funny.
So they laughed at you?
Yes, ma'am.
That you couldn't get into the club and they did?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you went to question them about?
Yes, ma'am.
Where had you been before that evening?
We had just been out and about.
What do you mean out and about? What does that mean, out and about?
We had been downtown. In
Downtown
our
where?
Local places where we live, downtown Roanoke. Some different nightclubs and things down there.
All right, so you'd been to some clubs that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
How many clubs had you been to that evening?
We just rode, we didn't even go in one downtown. We had stopped at a little place on Winter Road before we proceeded to go to the one they were at.
Okay. So then you go to April's house to discuss with her.
Yes, ma'am.
Her laughing at you.
Yes, ma'am.
And who grabbed her in a headlock?
She wasn't in a headlock.
Who grabbed her in a headlock and grabbed her
By
hair?
the back of the hair after she stuck her head in the car.
She stuck her head in the car
Yes,
to talk to you.
When she come to the car, she stuck her head in the car.
And what did she say?
She kind of basically asked me what I wanted, and that's when I
Okay,
did grab
so
her
she-
by the back of the head.
You grabbed her by the back of the hair. If you're sitting in the car and grabbed her by the back of the hair, then her head's in the car.
Yes, ma'am.
You have no right to do that.
You're right.
That started all the trouble.
Yeah.
Ended up you got your face bashed in.
Yes, ma'am.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
You think you deserve to get paid for that?
I don't deserve to have to pay him.
Why not?
I never laid a hand on him.
You started it. Julie, you started it. You want to show me the picture so that I can see just how dumb you are? That's pretty dumb. You had your cheekbone fractured?
Broken.
Broken.
My eyesight.
Fractured means broken.
Oh, yeah.
Broken. Oh. You had surgery?
Yes, ma'am.
That's pretty bad. What kind of knife was there?
There was no.
Don't tell me there was no knife. I don't want to hear there was no knife. Do you understand? I don't want to hear there was no knife. Now, it could have been a little knife. It could have been one of those little red knives. What do they call those? Swiss Army knives. You know.
I never held a knife. I never seen a knife.
Yeah.
And that is after my surgery. The police would not release the other pictures before the thing.
Oh, I'm sure they were terrible.
Yes,
Who do you have to blame for that?
Steve.
No! You! He was protecting his cousin.
His cousin was in the house when I had gotten hit. Angela was out of
Just
the
a
car.
minute. If her cousin was in the house,
After
and you
this
had come
happened-
to speak, listen to me. If she had run into the house because her head got loose, right? And you had finished your conversation with her,
Yes, ma'am.
what were you doing out of the car?
Because as I looked over to leave Angela, she was gone out of the car. I stepped out of the car to check on her, and that's
What do you
when I
mean
gave-
check on her? What was she doing out of the car?
I have no idea. All I know, as it was going on, they were yelling about guns and everything. So I look over and she's gone. I get out to make sure she's okay, and that's when I got hit. No one chased anyone. I got hit as
No,
soon as
yeah.
I stepped in the grass.
What did you step in the grass for? Why didn't you stay in the car?
I got out to check on her. That's my
That
fault for
caused
being
your
a
broken
friend.
face. You started this trouble. I believe him when he says that there was a knife in the console of the car, that he had seen it. Oh, I believe that. So your counterclaim is dismissed. Whatever bills you had for your face, take care of them. You went over there to cause trouble that evening. There's no question in my mind that you did. And you got it. You got more trouble than you bargained for. Well, that sometimes happens to bullies. Bullies sometimes get the short end of the stick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't smash his window in. I threw my shoe.
You told me in your answer, madam, that you were aiming for him.
No, I threw my shoe at him, and it hit
Right. What word didn't you understand that I said?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve Stover is suing Angela Morton and Jessica Shibley for having him falsely prosecuted and for smashing his windshield.
So the police were called, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you stopped?
The police never come to us. We went up the street, which my mother lives 3 houses up the street from this. We went to another friend's house, and she called the ambulance. The ambulance come, the police come. I went straight to emergency room.
And what'd you break his window for?
I broke his window because he was trying to leave, and she was laying on the ground, and I was scared, so I just threw my shoe. I wasn't running up to his truck, and I didn't smash his window in. I threw my shoe.
You told me in your answer, madam, that you were aiming for him.
No, I threw my shoe at him, and it hit
Right.
his
That's what you
truck.
said. What word didn't you understand that I said? You said in your answer, I was aiming for him, and he ducked, and I hit the window.
Yes.
Why?
Because she was laying on the ground. I didn't know what he was going back in his truck to get, if he was going to hit me.
What were you doing out of your car?
I was out of my car because they were screaming stuff. I didn't want them to run up on me and hit me.
They weren't running anywhere. She was in the house, according to your friend, and he had walked away. So what did you get out of your car for?
I got out of my car because him and Brad were hollering stuff.
And you didn't like that they were hollering stuff. You have
No, I didn't know
you
what
ever
they
hear
were going to
sticks
do.
and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me?
I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't want to be sitting
Well,
in the
if you
car
don't know what
anymore.
they're going to do, madam, then you get in your car and you go away. You don't get out of your car to confront them, especially when you've been the aggressor. You don't get out of your car. You stay in your car. And you go to her mother's house, which is 3 houses away. So you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am. I was running. After I got my cousin loose, we all scattered, and we were running to get away from the trouble. They chased me to the truck.
I believe that they chased you to the truck. Oh, I believe that they chased you to the truck. So you were, in fact, arrested.
Yes, I was.
How long were you incarcerated?
I explained the story, what happened to the magistrate at the time, and he let me out on my own recognizance.
Now, why do you say you lost earnings?
Okay, originally, the first charge, when it was dismissed, they brought up new charges and made it aggravated malicious wounding, and it was a felony. And the city of Roanoke will not allow you, even though I hadn't been convicted, they will not allow me to have my cab license.
Now, let me ask you this question. How many witnesses testified at the criminal trial?
Myself, April, Tammy, and Brad.
Tammy, you were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up here, please. Do you know these 2 young ladies?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Jessica get hit in the face?
Yes, ma'am. I saw everything.
So everything?
Yes, ma'am. I was standing right there when everything happened.
I would like you to tell me how close Jessica was to the truck when she got hit in the face.
She was at the door to the truck because Steve reached in and he turned around and Jessica was there because they both ran past me to get to the truck. I was standing next to the car when everybody jumped out.
She wasn't a truck length away.
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, did you see Steve run to the truck?
I saw Steve run to the truck because April went flying. Steve immediately ran to the truck past me, right next to me. Jessica jumped out of the car, ran past me.
She jumped out of the...
She came barreling out of the car. I mean, she jumped out of the car.
How far did she have to run to get to the truck?
About a car and a half length.
But she was right behind him.
She was right behind him.
And where was Angela at this time?
Angela was on the other side of the car, and she jumped out of the car at the same time Jessica did.
Did she run up behind Jessica?
She was at the door as soon as Steve hit Jessica. Steve jumped in the car, locked the window. Angela was right there at the truck and smashed the window.
I have all the receipts also for a rental car.
No, I don't need anything. You're suing the defendants, both defendants, for $5,000. You're claiming that as a result of their actions, you were arrested, you had to go through 2 trials. Were you given a public defender, or did you have to hire a lawyer?
I got a public defender.
And you went through how many days of trial?
The latter half of the trial lasted from about 12:30 in the afternoon to 6 in the evening, and then it was held over. The judge said he would make his decision. He was going to read over all the paperwork, and I had to come back the 26th.
How many witnesses did you have at the trial?
1. Just 1.
Evidently, the judge didn't believe you. Me neither. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'll be back with you.
I guess if enough people get together and get their story straight, you can make anybody believe it.
I thought that...
Of Grande versus Matson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Grande, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time, and you have a child together.
Right.
And it is your claim that when you separated, Mr. Matson kept some property that belonged to you and your daughter.
Right.
When did you commence living with Mr. Matson?
We were apart my whole pregnancy, 3 days before my daughter was born. She was born on the 12th. I moved back in with him.
The 12th of what?
The 12th of February was the day my daughter was born. 3 days prior to that is when I moved in.
12th of February?
Yeah.
Okay, so you moved back in a week before.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did that last?
It lasted 2 months.
And what happened?
Well, he was driving me to work. I get in the car. I notice on the dashboard of his car my child's sock. We used to always keep it in there because we thought it was cute to just have a little, baby sock on the dashboard. This particular day, I found marijuana on the sock, and I got very, very angry, and I said, "Is this the kind of father you want to be?" And he had told me over 5 times since my daughter was born that he was no longer going to use drugs, but that was not the case.
Okay.
So the fight was over that.
And what happened?
He got all mad at me, told me I don't help out around the house, I don't do anything. He ended up calling the police, asking them to watch and escort me out of the house. I had less than 20 minutes to pack my things, and basically everything I was trying to gather up I couldn't even do. I was holding my baby, crying and begging, "Please don't do this." I had less than 20 minutes. I left.
Okay. And then what happened?
I moved to a friend's house, and I came back like probably 2.5, 3 weeks later to retrieve my belongings, and I noticed.
Where was the baby during that time?
And the baby was with me.
Okay, and you came back to get your property. Had you made an arrangement with him to get your property?
Yes. He said, "Come and get your things," and I came, and then I noticed everything was gone. All of the stuff that I had laid out, he didn't pack. He told me he would pack my property and my daughter's.
What property?
Clothes, baby bottles.
Whose clothes?
My clothes and my daughter's clothes. Everything. All my grooming products. I had to leave with not even my toothbrush because I had less than 20. I left with the clothes on my back.
I would always take my toothbrush if I had 20 minutes. So you must have taken something in 20 minutes. What did you?
I left with my child's diaper bag and clothes for her and a stroller. I didn't even have a car.
So you're talking about personal effects and your daughter's clothes.
And mine.
Well, what clothes of yours? I mean, this is not a very easy thing to do. You can't speculate as to what clothes there are. You say clothes. What clothes?
He stole my sexy clothes probably because he doesn't want me to have them. I had this gown that was the $800 gown. I no longer have that. He stole CDs of mine and my labor and delivery tape, my ultrasound video, things to me that are priceless that the value of money cannot, replace.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Matson.
How you doing today?
Don't ask me questions. I ask questions. What happened?
We had a disagreement. It wasn't over what she's saying, but she's got a really volatile...
Just what was it over?
It was about her working.
Well, tell me about it.
She doesn't like to.
And?
She just gets really mad when she has to go do something that pertains to work. and I'd given her a ride to work. She was late. The guy told her to go home because she wore the wrong shoes. After I'd already left, she called me and told me to come back and pick her up, and she was just out of her mind then.
So this argument happened on your way. After you had dropped her off, she called you to come back and pick her up. Does
Yes.
that sound familiar to you?
No, I do work.
Now, just a
And-
second.
Okay.
The day of this incident, who were you working for?
I worked for this promotional company called...
Go ahead, Mr. Mattson.
Well, on my first way, I'd like to add, on my first way out after I dropped her off, she'd said, "I hope you get in a car crash and die." But
Well, was that over the marijuana cigarettes?
it was about another fight.
Okay. But did she find the remnants of drugs in the car?
No, she did not.
All right.
And I have a clean drug test here to prove everything.
Okay. What prompted you to take a drug test?
Because she alleged that in our child custody case. So the second she did that, I went and took a test,
Did you take a hair follicle test or a urine test?
a urine and blood.
Okay.
The issue
Now-
over her clothes, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
is we together put all of her clothes in this trailer that was on the side of my house, and I give her permission to to retrieve them out of there. I have pictures of her clothes boxed. I have her things hanging up in the trailer. I have pictures of all of her things in boxes that she helped put in there, and I helped her load them into a minivan when she came over to retrieve them.
Did you take those things?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So you took the things that he had put in boxes. Now, things that you're talking about here, my baby's first footprints, the birth certificate, etc. What's the etc.?
All of her clothes.
Okay. Who purchased the clothes?
The clothes, I was the #1 person at
Who
the
purchased?
church, my friends, and myself.
Where did you purchase the clothes from if you told me you weren't working?
This is during my pregnancy.
Where
This
were you
is-
working during your pregnancy?
I worked at in Associates. It's a promotional company.
Your Honor, the day I loaded her van for her, I videotaped that, and she didn't inventory any of the boxes. And she went directly to the police station from there, just claiming that I had stolen everything, and filed this report from there.
Okay.
And also there was a 9-dresser drawer that we had dedicated just to the baby things. From that, I kept 2 drawers worth of clothes, and I also have partial custody of the child, and I need some clothes for the child.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, sir. You should absolutely have some of the baby's things.
And to prove her character, here's a ransom note for the child, proving, says, #1, I want $10,000 before we get back together. Type of person she is. I had to file a restraining order because I'd given her $1,200 over the weekend to fix her car to get the baby around while we were not together, and she was living with somebody else.
Let me see the papers.
On Monday, she called me to tell me she was taking the baby. She got in a fight with her next guy, and she was going to take the baby to Nebraska. So I filed the restraining order to keep the baby here in the States.
And I assume that that was granted, that she is
Yes, it
prohibited
is. Yes.
from removing the child from the jurisdiction without
Yes.
your consent. What?
Actually, that's not what happened. He kidnapped my child from me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This person lives in a $500,000 home.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really.
And later today,
The initial problem was created by you. You personally, not her.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Frishta Grande claims the father of her child, Mark Mattson, stole her baby's belongings and her clothes.
How can he kidnap his child?
Well, what happened was I told him, if you don't help me find a home after you just left me, I have no choice but to move to Nebraska with my family, where they're going to support me. He just kicked me out the week before. Of course, I didn't trust him. I asked him to watch my child for me while I went to a computer class and looked for an apartment. When I came to pick her up, that's when he petitioned for the restraining order and everything. He had her for 4 days. I have right here on his own from a letter from my attorneys stating that he returned my daughter to me. This is when she's 2 months.
So what? You both parents, you each have equal right to custody until the court says otherwise. He can't kidnap his own child.
He was gone.
Just as you can't kidnap, because you each
I
claim that
told
the
him
other...
I wasn't-
Shh, I'm speaking. He can't kidnap his own child, nor can you kidnap your own child unless there is a prior custody order.
Your Honor, and as far as this case is over, the things that she's missing, if you wanted to call the next guy who lives at the beach that she ran off with, he has a garage full of things. He's called me. He and I have become friends since because she ousted herself from his house. He and I have become friends since then, and
What's
I'm
his
supposed
name? From the defendant's house, did you move into Mr. house?
Yes, I stayed 1 week.
He's
Do
requesting.
you have anything at Mr. house?
Yeah, I have baby furniture, and I'm moving into my apartment tomorrow.
Where did you get the baby furniture from?
I got it for $100 at a garage sale.
Okay.
This is a list of receipts that he made a copy of everything he purchased for our daughter. And the total money that he has spent on his daughter is $418. When this person lives in a $500,000 home, has 3 companies.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really. He always has
living in
people over.
Just a second. If he's living in a $500,000 home, madam, it must be either a very luxurious 2-room, $500,000 home, or else there was room for the baby's furniture that you bought that is at Mr. house.
He refused to turn the office into a nursery. He wouldn't make room for the baby's room.
Do you have the baby's birth certificate?
No, I do not have that with me.
Okay. Do you have the baby's first footprints?
Yes, I have.
You do. So make a copy of them.
I will.
Make a copy of them. You're as
No,
entitled to that
that's not
as
a
she
problem.
is. What other things does he have that are irreplaceable?
My ultrasound video,
Do
my
you have
labor
an
and delivery.
do you have an ultrasound video?
I have found that since then. I've never
Wonderful.
watched it. I don't need it. She can have it. No
Perfect.
problem.
What else?
The labor and delivery video.
The one that I shot on my camera, I will make her a copy of.
Will you do that?
That's no problem.
Will you do that within the
It's
next
our
couple of
child.
days?
I have no problem with
Would
our.
you do that within the next couple of days? That's easy. Make her a
Yes, ma'am.
copy. What else do you want, Ms. Grande?
I would like my ring back. There's also this ring that an old boyfriend of mine gave to me.
Yes.
Sapphires and diamonds. I've
How do you
had
know
it
he
for
has
4
it?
years.
Do you know where that ring is?
Your Honor, I've never seen such a ring. And
Fine.
she's
I haven't.
left.
This is the first time I'm hearing about a ring. What's next?
That's it.
Great. Look how lovely this is. We've accomplished making you into an almost happy family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
God. Said that if I don't give her $10,000, I'll never be a part of the baby's life.
This is her shirt that when she was born, the hospital gave to me. He washed it like it was the fabric softener or something. I mean, this is something I was going to have framed from my daughter to keep forever.
I don't know if you heard the way she talks, but it's our baby, and she keeps saying my baby, so, you know, everything should be shared.
And now the next case.
All parties on Valancourt versus O'Reilly. Step forward, please.
23-year-old preschool teacher Lisa Valancourt is suing 22-year-old bar manager Brendan O'Reilly for her German Shepherd's broken teeth.
Miss Valancourt, this is your dog, I assume.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you dropped your dog off at a friend's house for your dog to play with her dog.
Yes.
And the defendant came in and decided to take both dogs for a walk, correct?
Take them to the dog park.
Or the dog park. Had anyone asked you to take her dog to the dog park?
No, ma'am.
What happened with her dog?
Well, there's a gentleman playing with the tennis racket and the tennis ball that the dog park supplies. He threw the tennis ball up to hit it, and as he threw it and swung, Jack jumped for the ball. So the tennis racket and Jack met the ball at the same time.
So this gentleman hit the dog in
In the mouth.
snout
Yes, ma'am.
with the tennis racket. Well, what happened to the dog after he was hit?
Jack ran over, laid down, and whimpered a little bit. I ran over to Jack, saw what had happened, talked to the gentleman for a minute, and
What do
then
you mean you
left.
talked to him for a minute?
I said that it was unfortunate that it happened, and asked him his name, and that's about it, and I left.
Did you see the dog's mouth?
Yes, ma'am.
The dog was injured?
Yes, it was.
So this lawsuit is about, pay attention, the medical bills that you
Yes.
incurred for the dog.
Yes.
Now, Mr. O'Reilly, you asked the gentleman his name. Did you ask him where he lived?
No, ma'am.
Didn't you feel as if he was responsible for the injury to the dog?
I did, but many times I had hit tennis balls to park myself, and I thought that if a dog had jumped while I was swinging the racket and hit it, that it would simply be an accident. And, because those things happen.
And is that what you told the plaintiff? when she told you she wanted you to pay the bills?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He said, you better get a lawyer then, because I'm not going to hand you the money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You treated this all very cavalierly.
Okay, apparently you've never been to a dog park. They run
No,
around,
I've
they
been
jump
to a
up.
dog park, sir. I have had dogs all my life, and I know exactly what it's like.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Valancourt claims former friend Brendan O'Reilly is responsible for her German Shepherd's broken teeth.
How much were your vet bills for Jack?
The total was $1,921, and they are currently broken again.
What did they have to do to his? It was his front teeth that
His
were broken.
two big canine teeth. He does bite work. He's a Schutzhund dog, which is like police dog training, and I train him. That's what I bought him for. And they've had to do 2 root canals, and they recapped him or bonded him. It's like a special thing that the doctor does. And one of them broke. He doesn't like his muzzle. And one of them just actually broke 2 weeks ago when we were doing bite work.
Okay, but right now your vet bills is what you
Are
said was
$1,921.
Originally, I was asked to pay $900.
Well, it got worse. I assume you have the bills.
I have all of them, yes.
Let me
Can
see,
I bring them up?
please.
Stay right there, man.
They're all circled, the totals.
Now, the initial problem was created by you because you, without anyone asking you to, took her dog.
I'd have to disagree.
Who asked you to take
The
her
initial
dog out?
problem was with her leaving the dog at my house.
No. No. You had other options. If she left the dog at your house, were you living there with your girlfriend at the time?
I was living there.
Okay, so you were living there with your girlfriend.
Yes.
Okay. You weren't complaining that the dog was there because then you could have made a phone call and said, get your dog out of my house. You decided to take her dog out along, I assume, with the other dog that was there.
Yes.
So you made that decision unilaterally. So between the two of you, if the dog is injured, let's say the dog is injured by, you know, a flying meteor, not by somebody else's negligence, you would be responsible because you placed the dog in a position of being in that particular place and time.
Okay, what if I wasn't there when the dog was left there? I had no say in it.
It doesn't make any difference, Mr. O'Reilly. Your recourse is not to take the dog to the park. Your recourse is to pick up the phone and call her and say, come get your dog. I don't want it here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What I don't understand even further, Mr. O'Reilly, is this man was negligent. If you're going to use a tennis racket to hit balls to a dog, then you have to make sure that the field is clear so that you're not going to hit either another person or a dog. That's your responsibility if you're using a tennis racket, so that you cavalierly walk up to him and say, yeah, you know, it happens.
Okay, apparently you've never been to a dog park. They run
No,
around,
I've
they
been
jump
to a dog
up.
park, sir. I have had dogs all my life, and I know exactly what it's like. But if somebody used a tennis racket, and in using a tennis racket wasn't careful enough so that my dog was injured, I would say not only get his name, but get his address and find out if he had homeowner's insurance that may cover the problem, if there were vet bills. You treated this all very cavalierly. Bottom line, somebody is out $1,921. And if you had the name of the person and the address of the person for her to proceed against,
They already have it.
where did she get the name and address of the person?
As far as I know, her sister tracked the person down and got the name and address and talked to the gentleman.
Why didn't you?
I didn't, simply because if I was in his shoes, I would feel the same. I wouldn't want to be held responsible.
I suggest that since you didn't bother to track down this gentleman initially, that you track him down now, because you have a lawsuit against him for $1,921. You personally, not her. You go get the money from him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,921. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Barry.
Come on, Jack.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Taylor, you and Mr. McCrary were high school sweethearts, according to what I read here. You have a 2-year-old child together, saved money together, I assume when you were in high school, decided to rent an apartment together, which was when?
That was August of '98.
And you signed a year lease?
Yes, we did.
Is that correct so far?
Yes.
There was an argument sometime in May of '99. You claim when he moved out, he also withdrew your savings of $1,200, and you believe that he should be responsible for half of the remaining months on the lease. He moved out when?
In May. We was together in an apartment for 9 months.
So, according to you, he owes 1/2 of 3 months' rent.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the rent?
$355.
Total?
Uh-huh.
Did you at any time move someone else into the apartment?
No, no, ma'am.
A new boyfriend or anything else?
No.
Did anybody come and stay with you?
Somebody came and stayed with me, but his name wasn't on the lease.
I don't care whether his name was on the lease or not.
Well, he came at the end of the very last month.
So 1 month?
Yeah.
Under the lease?
Under the lease.
He stayed there?
Yes.
Why didn't he pay rent?
Well, it wasn't really initially a plan for him to stay there.
But he did?
Yeah, I mean.
So why should he pay for that? Why should he pay for a time when this other guy was living in the apartment?
Well, I mean, he paid for other things. He did help me out.
Person lives in an apartment, they got to pay rent.
Mm-hmm.
And if he had paid half the rent, then you wouldn't be asking for him for the other half, right?
Well, it was only for the final month, and we wasn't planning on moving in together. It's just
Who
something
knows?
that
Who
happened.
cares? So it's for 2 months at most. Now, you moved out, sir, because you had an argument with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me about that argument.
I don't remember the exact argument, but we were arguing ever since we moved in together. And I just got fed up and I moved out. And 2 days later, she threw my clothes out on my parents' driveway. Told me I wasn't making up my mind quick enough, and she told me it was over. And then after things calmed down, she called me up and asked me, could we get back together? And I said no.
How much after she put your clothes out on your mother's driveway did she call and try to reconcile with you?
About 2 weeks later.
Is that right?
That's not true, Your Honor.
Okay, what happened with the clothes? Did you bring the clothes over to his mom's house?
He had already moved out. He just left stuff there. He still had things at the apartment. If he's moving out and everything, I was giving him his stuff. I didn't leave it in his yard or anything. He's over-exaggerating. What had happened, he was depressed. We was both full-time students in college or whatever. And he was working at a job at Procter & Gamble, but it was like a seasonal thing where you work 6 months and then you're off, and you either you collect unemployment checks or you can find another job. He decided to collect unemployment checks. And so he would use all his money to pay the rent, and I would pay for all the rest of the utilities like telephone and food and electric and everything else. And so his money, unemployment checks, that's not a lot anyway. So his whole entire check would go on the rent, and he would have no money for himself, really. And so he was just depressed about that. And then he had all the time on his hands, so he had to watch our daughter more. And it's a combination of a lot of things, but he was just acting. His attitude was changing. Everything was changing about him, and he was feeling depressed. So I was asking, like, well, am I doing anything wrong? What am I doing wrong? And he wouldn't have no reply to that or whatever. And he just, when we would have talks and stuff, and he would try to leave and say, well, I can't take it anymore. That this it's just not the same or whatever. And I would tell him, well, you know, stay for us, stay for the family and everything else. And I had convinced him a couple of times before he tried to leave to stay. But this final time, we wasn't arguing, we was talking. It would be a long talk, emotional talk, we both crying and everything. And he like, well, you know, I just need to get away. And so it was fine. And I was upset about it for a couple of days, sad and heartbroken over it. But, you know, I always felt like he was going to come back. And then I would go over there to drop off our daughter because his mother would watch her. And I come over there and he got on brand new clothes, new shoes, new golds in his mouth, tattoos and everything new. And then it came clear to me that he was just leaving his responsibility. He wanted to spend money on him. He didn't want to take care of the bills and everything like he used to.
How old are you?
I'm 20 years old.
That's what happens when you're 20 years old and you make a baby. When you're 18 years old, then you get responsibilities. It all sounds nice in the planning stage, but when you have to live the life of being responsible and not being able to buy yourself things and live a little bit when you're 19, that's what happened. Okay. But there was that 2-month period. She didn't have another roommate, like the boyfriend, who should have paid his half, which would mean that if you decided you had enough of this relationship, you owe her 1 month's rent. She lived there for 2 months by herself, half of it should be yours. Now let's get to the $1,200 that you say he removed from the joint savings account. You say there was an agreement, sir, between the two of you.
Yes. The agreement was after we moved out, or after I moved out, and we decided that we weren't going to be in together anymore, I took the money out of the bank account.
I know you did that.
She kept all the stuff that was in the apartment, all the furniture, the bedroom set, the microwave, TVs, VCRs.
Was that all paid for?
Yes.
From what fund had you furnished this apartment?
From my previous job at Walgreens.
Okay. And hers?
Well, at the time she was pregnant, so she didn't have a job, Your Honor.
Okay. Is it true, Miss Taylor, that when he moved out, he left all the furniture?
He left. It was only a one-bedroom apartment. So
One-bedroom apartment has
he left
a bedroom.
The sofa.
A bedroom. Was that furnished? Did it have a bedroom set in it?
Well, that was his bedroom set from his house. He could have took that. It wasn't.
Just a minute. Was that from your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so the bedroom set you didn't pay for?
No,
Or
Your
was it
Honor.
your parents and they gave it to
My
you?
parents gave it to me, yes.
What about the living room furniture?
That's what we both paid for from the joint bank account. All the furniture we bought, what we saved from our joint bank account, that's what we used.
Well, that's what he's saying. He's saying that he walked out with nothing.
Yeah.
Living room furniture?
He didn't.
Pay attention. Living room furniture? Did you buy that?
Yes, we bought that together.
Did you buy a television set?
Yes, but he took that.
Took the TV?
No, Your Honor, I did not receive the TV until after her and her boyfriend moved out in September of '99.
So you did, in fact, get the TV back?
September of '99, yes, Your
What
Honor.
difference does it make when you got it back? What other furniture was bought from joint money?
The kitchen set, the
Kitchen set, was that bought from joint money?
Only things kitchen set is like plates and a microwave.
What about table and chairs?
Table, yeah, dinette set, yeah.
Well, so, dinette set. Dinette set was purchased by the two of you?
Yes.
And he left that there?
Yes, he did.
And then the silverware, plates, pots, pans, all of that stuff, you bought when you moved into the apartment? And he left that there?
Yeah.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't get the security deposit back?
None of it back. The house was damaged, holes in the door, whatever, from violent fights.
And later today,
Your car wouldn't have been damaged at all, sir, if you didn't follow him, right?
But it wouldn't have been damaged if you wouldn't have just rammed it.
No, it wouldn't have been damaged at all had you not been doing the wrong thing.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tashima Taylor says former live-in boyfriend Anthony McCrary owes her for a broken lease and money he stole from a joint checking account. Anthony says Tashima kept their furniture.
Do you remember how much you paid for the living room furniture?
Like $800, $900, not including the tables and everything.
Well, if that came to $800 or $900 and the dinette set and the plates and pots and pans and all that other stuff, clearly that's more than $1,200. Look, this is not so difficult. Mr. McCrary, I don't believe that there was an agreement with her that she would keep all the stuff and you would take the money out of the joint bank account. That was an agreement you made up here with yourself. You are paying child support?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay child support from the time you moved out until the time that the court made the order?
I was served the papers in September, and we didn't go to court until November. So I didn't pay child support until December of '99, all the way up to present.
So you didn't pay child support from the time you moved out until December.
Yes, Your Honor.
So that's September, October, November, 3 months.
There was no child support to be paid, Your Honor.
Yes, there was. There just wasn't an order.
Well, yes, I bought my daughter food, diapers, and clothing. Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. You're going to give her back half of what was in the joint bank account, sir, which is $600. There was $1,200 in there that you acknowledge, and you're going to pay her $355 for 1 month's rent, because I believe that that's fair. You had a responsibility. Now, did you get any security deposit back?
No. The house was damaged, holes in the door, whatever, from violent fights or whatever.
Well, that's very sad. $955, Mr. McCrary, is what you owe the plaintiff, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was just retaliation from a disagreement that we had about another situation.
Well, he's not a reasonable person. We can't even talk anymore. I mean, he's still causing constant conflict in my life at this very moment.
And now the next case.
All parties on Long versus Smith. Step forward.
All right, let's go. Shit! Watch out! Okay, let's take it to the right. Marked a location. Please recall me. Please recall me. Got it. I'm recalling a teammate. Thanks. Help! Watch out! Marked a location. Help! Help! Marked a location. I need a weapon. First point for the red team. Red team is in the lead. red team is about to win.